Hey, you. Welcome back to the channel, and I hope you all are having a great day. So, today we want to talk about, as you can see from the title of the video, the microphone debacle that happened during the debates. And the reason I'm addressing this is because, I really thought that Andrew Yang handled the microphone situation going forward in the best way to not make a big deal about it, just let it die. We know NBC had came out and said that the mics hadn't been turned off, so it kind of became this their word against Andrew Yang type situation. Um, what has is kind of stirring it up again is I start to notice that this channel that was covering Andrew Yang, I believe it goes by the name of Run Don't Walk Productions, that they were very biased in their approach to Andrew Yang, and they talked quite a great deal about, pretty much not believing that Andrew Yang's mic was turned off and that it was an excuse for Andrew Yang's performance during the debate. Excuse me. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit today, as well as I want to talk about money that comes in to the economy based on the freedom dividends, something that doesn't get brought up hardly ever. So let's talk about it. So in the beginning of the video, you see this scene. It's actually a movie scene from one of my favorite movies, Trading Places. People who watch the channel are probably familiar with my past career, which dealt with working for some of the biggest investment firms in the country. And so I'm very familiar with this kind of setting, this scene. And the reason I thought it was important to start the video off this way is because this type of culture that we had in investing and trading is something that is comparably different from what you would get in the East, in Asia, in the Asian markets, right? Whereas in the Asian markets, it's very laid back, very calculated, very calm approach to trading, and it's more so this cultural thing. Now, from what we know about Andrew Yang, he is the his parents are immigrants from Taiwan, and immigrants are such an important part of American culture. If we go back to antiquity, ancient times, one of the components that made civilization so great, even if you go and look at something like Rome, was the melting pot and mixing of cultures, mixing of new ideas, um, borrowing of ideas, and new ways of doing things, new technology, new ways to face problems, new inventions. And so it is a great thing when we have cultural diversity in the United States. It actually makes us better. And for those of us who are against immigration, we need to study how the civilizations, how advanced civilizations of the past have worked, and what was instrumental in them prospering. It certainly wasn't isolation, and it certainly wasn't keeping your borders shut tight and not letting new ideas and cultures in, and new intelligent people, right? Uh, right now, I believe we have the world's most PhDs. We have the most PhDs in the world. A lot of that's due to immigration. But anyway, making a point between these cultural ideas about how to approach things and investing, this is what we thought the best way to make money was, and the approach to the problem was screaming, yelling, hollering, clamoring over people, pushing people to the side, right? Stepping on you if necessary. And in the Asia markets, they got things done with a much different approach, right? And they both work. So, in comparison to what Andrew Yang does and how he carries himself, just because it might not be the way we would handle things, doesn't necessarily mean that this will, in the end, work against Andrew Yang, right? So I know a lot of people want to push up and step up. This is, they want to push people aside. Now, I want to address this show. I'll try to leave a link in the description to some of his videos. They're all pretty much attack pieces on Andrew Yang. The problem I find with the channel is a few things. First problem is it gets a lot of views, which, is always concerning to me when certain channels get a lot of views and a lot of support. It's very similar to the argument I made about Donald Trump with like half the country supporting the Trump administration. And then, we saying things like, this isn't the way it's supposed to be, and this, that, and the other. But then over half the country supports somebody like Donald Trump, and that's the polling data, and we know it to be true because he got elected. Now, same problem I'm finding with productions like Run Don't Walk. I believe that's this, but again, I'll leave the description to a few of his videos in there where he's has all these supporters and he's attacking the Andrew Yang campaign. But the biggest problem too is he's not doing it with accuracy, right? He's saying a lot of things that he hasn't researched, and so he doesn't have a full understanding of the freedom dividend. And that, that's what I have problem with. I don't have a problem with, people having differences of opinions. I don't have problems with people favoring one candidate over the other. That is what democracy is all about. If everybody voted on the same candidate, that is not the country we would want either. But being informed before you spread information that I don't find accurate is a problem. Now, he did bring up some interesting points, I think, that from our cultural standpoint, many of us might agree with. But what he did bring up a lot as well is that, these ideas of that, there was mistakes with the numbers, the cost of the freedom dividend. And also what doesn't get brought up a lot is the money that comes into the freedom dividend. Like every time the question gets asked, how are you going to pay for the freedom dividend and how expensive it is? Why isn't it never considered the great money that's going to come in, go back into the economy as a result of the freedom dividend? Take prisons, for instance, right? It takes only about $10,000 to educate a child a year in the United States, but to imprison an individual is 4 or 5 times that. So just to house one inmate, we're spending like $40,000, $50,000 per year. Now, $12,000 per year, I'm pretty convinced, and I know a lot of other people would have to agree with this. A lot of experts, I believe, would have to, if they're honest, agree with this. That's going to be a great deterrent to invest in crime, because a lot of crimes are committed. Why? Because of money and desperation and no jobs and a very bleak look at a person's future. And not only the psychological value that's going to go back into the mindset of people who have money in their pockets, because as American, the other knockback or throwback to the American culture is we love money and we value ourselves with money. And that's very dangerous, but we do. And that's why we attack ideas like the freedom dividend so bad, because, it just shows what's important to us, right? And it just shows how money is more important to us than people. We're more concerned about if a person gets a few extra dollars per month, and they didn't do the kind of job or produce in a way that we determined to be a job or productive, right? That we just personally said or consider not to be work, in our opinion, that these people do not deserve to, to get the money, and that if they do, we can't afford to pay for it. But we pay for everything when the powers that be decide that they want to go and start a war for whatever reason. We pay for all of that, and you don't hear people talking about, oh, this is overly expensive, and This will never get passed. We pass it in a heartbeat, and we're off to war, right? And we do all these things, and then we get upset when American citizens, a few extra measly dollars per month that they can't even live off of completely. We lose our collective, you know what's. So, the other ongoing joke that's been going around the internet I've been catching, and it's not even really a joke, it's more a fact. And that is many of us collecting an extra $1,000 with the freedom dividend, are going to end up spending it back in the economies of the biggest winners like Amazon. So how many of us, when we get this $1,000, are going to go online and be buying stuff or from Amazon? People like me, because I purchase a lot of things from Amazon.com. And so do many other people, right? So, that's what I think is going to, pretty much be the outcome of that economy. Sorry, got a bit distracted. I got somebody out blowing at my house, and I'm probably going to have to end up cutting the video short. But I will leave a link in the description for this person, Run Don't Walk production, so you can look at his videos. And I'm not going to go through the entire idea of, was Andrew Yang's mic turned off? Was it turned on? Was it just a matter of Andrew Yang, not being assertive enough or something to that effect? But what I am going to say is that policies are more important than the performances and circuses we get in these debates, right? I know a lot of people want to see Trump get told off by somebody, I know, but the reality is people like Andrew Yang, he's been accused of being what they might call a technocrat. If anything, I would say he falls more under something like a meritocracy, where he's relying on people who are it's their job and they're informed to make the decision to do that. And my personal belief is that's the best way to go about things, to be a meritocracy. And what I mean by that, when he was asked questions like, should Trump be impeached through the Mueller report, just the whole bravado of going out and saying that we're going to attack this country or when to start a war and do this. He relies on Congress to do that. He relies on people who have the skill set to make decisions as part of their job, and more so of this meritocracy way. And I agree with that. I don't see any problem with that. And in that laid backness and set backness and his approach to that, I think that just makes more sense. You don't have to, be, this idea of this Trumpism idea like what we get with Donald Trump, where he's kind of this dictator-like figure, leading the pack. And he's making the country make all the decisions and go in one direction. But it really doesn't work that way, does it? And so for us to kind of get so fixated on, that Andrew Yang has to be this forceful, in character personality, more so than putting forth great policies that in the end are going to be more important to the overall results and circumstances we're in. I think to me makes more sense, but I love to hear you guys' opinions. At the end of the day, do you think it really makes that much of a difference if Andrew Yang's going to be forceful up on that stage? Or is it going to be policy? Is it going to be Congress and people who are informed, who's worked in the intelligence communities for years, who's had experience in warfare for years? If it comes to that, does it make more sense to be able to delegate responsibility in a way that serves our country best? And I feel like that's Andrew Yang's method forward. But again, we'd love to hear you guys' opinions. Real quick, our project, BitcoinMYK.com, our own universal basic income project that uses cryptocurrency in ideas like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin to supply universal basic income across the globe. Our aim and goal is to get $1,000 worth of these cryptocurrencies going out to every participant, in which they can trade in their local currencies for their dollars. And we're very excited about the project, and it is a passion project of mine. It's a labor of love, and I would love for you all to join who watch the channel. Come on over. We'll treat you very well. I'll leave a link in the description, but that's all I got to say in this video. If you like content like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and until next time, take care.